Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxer, the Technical Trader at TheTechTrader.com. It's Saturday, September the 2nd. This is the weekly webinar. Well, folks, I think I've said 4 weeks in a row, another eventful week, but certainly the markets had come down for near a month, 4 weeks. You can see that after bouncing back up, we're now at resistance near this gap, which is the breakdown gap, 45, 50, 51 range. And the high this week on Friday was 45, 41. So pretty close to resistance. And we'll have to see next week whether we can pop through. If we do, we will challenge the spike high around near 46, 4607 zone. And then we have a shot at making a move towards 47 and 4800. Key support now seems to be down here at the pullback low in mid-August near the 4335 area. The Nasdaq 100, similar long rising channel. Now this one hasn't broken that channel angle, at least parallel. If you look at the S&P, you'll see that the way I've redrawn it, it hasn't as well. So we're still in an uptrend until we actually break down. But for now, the Nasdaq 100 is in a very sharp 45-degree angle rising pattern. It's got a 1, 2, and then a long 3, which consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves, and then the pullback. This could be wave 4, and if wave 5 starting, we're looking at 17,000 to 17,500 as a potential top and a blow-off phase coming up. And of course, depending whether we get a follow-through or not. There is key gap resistance from the August breakdown at 15,561, the high on Friday, 15,618, so a slight breakout there, but then it pulled back to 15,490. So the jury's still out, but the bullish part about the Nasdaq 100 is the 10, 21, and 50-day moving averages converging around 15.2. Price support around 15.3, and we're at 15.5-ish right now, 15.490. So the breakout above the moving averages and declining top signs, very bullish. Question is, can we maintain this and extend it? Obviously, key resistance now exists at 15.8 and 15.930. That area, if breached, could lead to a run up to 16.8. And so we got a lot of room to run in NASDAQ in a blow-off phase if we get a blow-off wave 5. Transportation index, a little bit more worrisome. If they're coming down, it's rallied, but take a look at this. Right around all 3 moving averages and forming what could be a bear flag until we get a definitive breakout over 15,960 with energy. We could still fail roll over and test 15.3 or much worse. So I'm worried about a lack of confirmation from the transportation indexes. Now the small caps have actually popped out above the moving averages, and so that leads me to believe that we're getting relative strength from small caps, which isn't necessarily a good thing, and what you often see at the tail end, a very major bull phase anyway. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but we may see a blow off in small caps, getting this back up to the 195-200 zone at some point. What do the technicals look like? In terms of the underlying oscillators, we have now a move that has taken us from minus 237 in about 3 weeks, not even 2.5 weeks. Minus 237 to plus 121 on Friday before settling back to plus 82. Nearing overbought, excuse me, not quite there. Perhaps, and I know this is not a stock, but when you look at an index, you're also looking at potential real resistance up here. So at any point, which happened here, 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 and quite a few times, we did pull back from this level of overbought plus 121 to 122. Don't know if it's going to be occurred, if we're going to occur a deeper pullback, whether we get up higher into the overbought zone at plus 180 to 200 or even more. The percentage of stocks that are participating above their 40 is only 43%, meaning less than half stocks are participating in this move right now. So it doesn't mean anything because it's first coming out of a wave 4 pullback, but it is up near the it's up plus 43 from a level of only 24. So that's almost doubled. There is resistance up here, chart resistance anyway. But to get to overbought, we need to be up in the 75, 85 range. So I'm anticipating if we do get a blow-off phase that this is going to get up there, that the VIX is going to get up there. And that's where we're going to be much more inclined to get a deeper pullback, perhaps in mid to late September, early October, something like that. But I do feel possibilities of the next week or two could be strong Everything depends whether we got to follow through after Labor Day weekend. We shall see. What about the VIX? Well, I'm not happy with the way the VIX is acting out here. It really is amazing to me. We're only at 13. Certainly no fear exists in Wall Street. And you would think that the market climbs a wall of worry, there would be some fear going on, but that's not the case right here. Matter of fact, 1309 is one of the lowest closing prices other than this 1291 we had back in June 22nd. So it's the second lowest reading going back, to 2020. So interesting action, something to be watched as well. So let's look at the major components. What's going on there? These are leading Nasdaq 100 generals. Apple, really big rally. Now take a look at the breakdown here, which it opened at 185, got up to 187, then dropped all the way down to 171 a couple weeks ago. And in the last couple of weeks, only one day has Apple been down. 4 up, 1 down, and 6 up. So 10 to 11 days, Apple's been leading the market higher. And guess what? The gap is nearly filled. Sometimes when you fill a gap, you'll back off. But if Apple keeps going, you can see where the resistance might be down near the high 190s. What about Amazon? Well, it did pop out from the falling pattern, and it's above the moving averages. But it wasn't a good day Friday in particular. Nevertheless, until the trend is broken, the trend is your friend, and the trend in Amazon is still up. Where does it target? Probably mid 140s and then low 150s. Microsoft rallies back to the 50 and declining top sign and is in a potential failure mode. Look, this is a wedge. I can't tell whether we come down in a 1-2 and we're going down in a wave 3. But if Microsoft wants to make a move above 335 with any kind of energy, then this could break out and help the market rally. Netflix. Netflix also has come out of its declining channel and is back above the moving averages, but not quite taken out resistance yet. So next week, you want to watch Netflix go over 445. You get that done, you might see a stock trade into the gap in the 460-70 zone. Also, Netflix is in a long-term rising channel that has not been broken. Now, is it possible this is a left shoulder, head, right shoulder type pattern? Yeah, but it's also possible just a falling wedge or some sort of bull wedge on road to 550. Stay tuned. Meta's been phenomenal as well. Finally settled back. Got this key support right in there. Held it twice and rallied back, but it has not been able to break out. So I'm going to be watching Meta next week early to see if that can take out 30102 and rally back to retest the highs. NVIDIA, monster of the midway. Take a look at this chart. In October of 22, that's not even a year ago, this was 108. And we reached nearly 500 a couple weeks ago, over 500 at 502.66. And technically, after hours, after the earnings report, we reached 519. Some of you may not be aware of that. Up there. Not quite. Yeah, right there. So this has work to do. And Friday was a bad day for it, down 9 points, or about 1.8%. Nevertheless, again, all the major market leaders, all the Nasdaq generals remain in rising channel configurations until they break. In other words, the trend is your friend. And what's the target on this baby? Technically, that's right, $700. Okay. And finally, Tesla. Then a 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like to me, this is a large declining channel, fourth wave right there. And it's broken back out. Now we're up against resistance in this range here. I'm thinking the possibilities are that this can get back to 275, especially if it takes out 261. But Friday was a bad day, down 1283. Between NVIDIA and Tesla, they really pressured Nasdaq. So we're gonna have to keep close tabs on this one since the pullback is right at key initial support. A look at some of the other leading ETFs, particularly semiconductors, which have been really volatile. But take a look at this. If anyone thinks we're in a bear market, the answer is not yet. How many waves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the fifth wave. Consolidation less reliable doesn't mean it can't go higher. If it does, and this breaks out above the double top of 161 in that area, 178.80 could be a target. I'm not kidding. So this is going to be a telltale for me. If it fails, and this is a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, or a double head and right shoulder, we break down underneath 143 and a half, 130.43, a quarter, underneath 143. That's where the market and SMH is very vulnerable. And if it gets below that, I think we're in a bear phase. Simple as that. The other group you want to watch is biotech, XBI, which has been going laterally ever since it got crushed from 185 down to the 50s. You can see that the base that it's built for the last year and a half, 2 years is a big one. It's been up and down and back up and down, and then keep consolidating like that. Now take a look at the V bottom, the breakout on Friday, right at resistance here, just below the declining tops, the declining moving average, and right at the declining top line. So any follow through on XBI and LABU, you can see the pattern if it breaks through here, would be very significant, I think, for the markets. And on the other hand, if that turns out to be a bear, rising bear flag, right there, and the LABU breaks down under, I would have to say, 490, I won't be a happy camper at all. But my targets would be 5 3/4, 6.5, 6.05 and 6.5 going forward, if we do get the breakout. Anyway, the point I'm making is that if biotech is strong enough, the market can make a lot of upside movement, but it does have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and what lingers here is the possibility of a fifth wave and/or a break of the double bottom that goes back from the March and August period. See it? It's actually a triple bottom. You break that base to the downside, it does not augur well for the market. What about financials? Well, they've had a tough time of late. You can see the FAS tried to break out this week, but it's just sitting there on the moving averages and has work to do, and it's kind of in a long downtrend configuration. So the FAS, the financials, have been down for, let's just say they lost about 2/3 of their value over a 2-year period from there to there, double bottom in there, and has made its way higher to the declining top line. It's got to take that out, or it'll pull back and retest it or make lower lows. So financials are iffy, biotech's neutral, semiconductors very positive. It's a very mixed picture at the very least. So let's go look at some of the other ETFs I follow closely, and they are obviously gold, which I don't get why anyone likes gold. I just don't see it. AGQ. Now that's at least got a better basing pattern. I would say that if this gets over the 35, 37 zone, it can be a long-term move up on silver. I'm not seeing it yet in gold, and I won't be happy until I see nearly 33. It's a long way to go from here. So even though there's a possibility that we could see a new bull market in precious metals, I'm not going to call for that yet. Oil, look at the USO. Well, after a 1-year downtrend and a bottoming in the high 50s, we have spiked to 77 with Friday's gain of $1.94 at 2.58%, setting a new closing high since way back in here. That's actually in the highest since a 52-week high, let's put it that way, for oil. Now, oil's got some big resistance right there, in my opinion, at 80.5. So we're just a couple points away from that. It's also a long wave 1 and 2, so wave 3 may be in play, and we'll have to see how far they want to take oil. I'll tell you what, though, this looks like a breakout of a nice 1-year base nearly in oil, so I'd be much more bullish on oil stocks than I have been in a long time. UCO looks the same, and the Gush, which we've been trading a lot over the last few years, not quite up here. That's your target now at 53. Don't forget this split 2 for 1 as well. Okay, so and now since we looked at all those ETFs, I want to and gold and silver and oil, I want to look at nat gas, and then we'll move on to some stocks. You can see that UNG has been basing after a long downtrend for 6 months or so, not broken out yet. A move over, say 7.5, 3/4 might get it really going. Targets would be 9 and 10 at that point. Okay, got a lot of stock to talk about. Let's start with ACHR. Beautiful rising channel. I did pull back Friday, and there is resistance 7.5, but my target remains 10.5. ACMR, a junior semiconductor that broke out and ran beautifully last week. Take a look at this. Last 4 days, 15 to 19, almost 1892, and closing at the high for the week nearly. There's some resistance up here at 20.25, so we should test that shortly. Next target is 25. AEHR, one of our favorites all year. Look at that beauty from 7 to the mid 50s. Pull back, and now it's back to 51. I like to look at this. This was up every day last week, reversing from a low on Monday of 38.86 to Friday's high of 52.45. And should we get through the double top around 54, I would look for mid 60s. Firm finally came through a double top, actually came out of a base. The target here at the spike high, 22.75 is next, and then 28. AI, everyone's talking about AI, but it's right on key long-term support in a 1, 2, 3, wait for pullback. I would have to see this back above 33.5, 3/4, and then take out 36 for me to be excited about this, making another good long-term move. If that occurs, the projection is in the mid 60s, a double. AMD, chip maker and one of the big ones. Advanced Micro consolidating a bit below the trend line, but it's not back. I want to see this one come on strong. Target 122 and 130 and beyond. Last week's low, stop under 99.5. AMRX, beautiful rising channel. This drug manufacturer has gone from $1.25 to 4.75, tripled, and now coiling or consolidating an extension could take us to 6.5. APLS swing popped out as flagging, engulfing bar on Friday. I like to look at this for move to 50, 55, and then eventually high 60s. ARDX, beautiful long-term chart, and then consolidated sideways for months. Matter of fact, April through August. It broke out Friday big time. Now there is some resistance at 5. My targets are 6 and 7 now. ARRY in the solar group with an inverse head and shoulders and then a breakout. But resistance thwarted the advance several times. It's coiling, consolidating, basing. Take a look at last week as it popped out and then backed off a little bit. Something to watch. Targeting 27.5 at 30. AUGX, this junior health information services company, breaks out here with a breakaway gap, forms a wedge, runs up and forms another wedge, and pops and forms another one. Each time making new highs. Looking for 6 and 7.5. BLBD, well, Bluebird, this auto parts manufacturer, inverse head and shoulders here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder breakout, retest, pop, flag, wedge, or coil. What next target's 27, and then mid 30s. CAMT's a monster. I completely missed this one. The breakout really came there with the breakaway gap. It ran up and flagged, and then exploded. At 60, and this is up from 24 just in April. And it's an all-time high, and it's extended, but it might have some upside momentum too. Largest purveyor of uranium is CCJ Cameco. Inverse head and shoulders type pattern. Stair-step your way higher. New multi-year highs. Targeting now at 44.45. CDLX inverse head and shoulders and a swing. Popped out, pulled back, retested, exploded, flagged, and it's running. Don't know how far they can take it, but I'm looking for low 20s and then high 20s. CLS, beautiful chart. There's a breakaway move in a coil and now running up again. I think we're going to see mid-20s very quickly. Cocoa, the Vita Cocoa Company, what a great chart. From a low of in the high single digits to the high 20s, nearly 30. Stock is consolidating nicely. If it breaks out, low 30s and then high 30s are targets. COUR, this is Coursera. Nice base and about to come out, or it looks like it wants to. But what I like about it is it pop wedge, pop coil, pop another wedge, and now right to resistance right there. If we get through this level, it's going to accelerate into the high teens, low 20s. CVNA, Carvana has been good to us. Look at this pop flag, pop coil, pop, and then a larger one. But look how it held at 50 for a week. Now it's moved back up again. You can take this one above 53 and then 57. You're probably looking at low, mid 60s or better. CBRX, beautiful rising channel. It's near the all-time high and it's coiling. Target 23.4 if it breaks out. CWCO and Consolidated Water making 15-year highs and has broken through some key resistance. I would argue for 30, 31 as a near-term target. CXM, software stock, is right at the resistance and at the 52-week high as well. Next targets are 17 and 19.75. DBI, long downtrend, very orderly, spike off the low, form a coil, and breakout Friday. This should be a tech trader swing. The targets are 13 and 16. DBRG is a tech trader swing. When it popped, it then pulled back and then extended with a nominal new high Thursday and backed off Friday. As long as it holds that trend line of moving average around 15.75, I'm good with it. Targets 19, 21. Dell, well, I'm first time on the list for a while. After a long downtrend in base, this one broke out in June and just kept running, and then exploded Friday on strong earnings. This is all-time high territory, so I'd be looking for an extension. DraftKings, we've been long since it broke out, I believe, here, and it's been moved up nicely from the 22.3 range into the mid-30s, tagging 34.49 about 3 weeks ago. It pulled back down, now it's bounced again. Targets at 35 and 39. DMRC, I like this chart, long downtrend, popped from the consolidated channel and broke out with a breakaway gap, right through the channel top. Kept going until I reached my target at 32, coiled, broke out, falling channel, and breaking out again. It looks to me like coming out of a base, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth wave may be underway with a target at 40. In the oil sector, Diamond Offshore has been phenomenal. Look at the consolidation now. And with oil running up, this may very well be a trade to 18 and 22. DRS, aerospace, multiple waves up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it could be. This is the fifth wave consolidation. But be careful, it stops under 15.5, but it gets over 18, we're looking at 21. DSP broke out of a base, pulled back and popped, now it's popped, pulled back again and popped. So it looks like it has designs on higher levels. And my targets are 8.5 and 11.5. DOOL, Duolingo, expensive stock, but really nice action coming back to the apex of the breakdown points. And careful, if it does break through here, it could be vulnerable. If it does, 171 and 195 are targets. EDU, one of the biggest educators in China, with a 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth wave has a 1, 2. I'm looking for a 3, 4, and 5, and a stock in the 80s and 90s at some point. This Chinese aerospace company, EHang, long pop, coil, and another channel running up, 31 target, 31. But it's got to take out the double top first. Resistance 22.75, 23. EOSC, big pop on Friday, not a good close though. Take a look at resistance up here, double top. And the long-term channel shows out kind of a base pattern developing. I'd have a target of 8 and 9 if it does break out. ESTC, popped on Friday, big breakaway gap. It's above all the moving averages. It's above price support. Looks like we might run to mid 80s and even low 90s. NTB, which I said looked toppy back a month ago, did come down, but it held secondary support and it's moved back up again. Keep an eye on this one, may not be done long term. FNGR, now in a 2-month coil and a rising little channel. Now, in the last 8 days, it's only been down 1 day. What I really want to see on this one is a move through 559.60. Once you do that, you're looking at 6, 7, and 8. FRPT, long base, breakout, and a bull flag. Target 91.2. FRSH, very similar, long base, breakout, and a wedge. You get through here, and my target's at 27 and 30. Fastly in a beautiful rising channel ever since the long downtrend. Now has designs at higher levels, and my target's 29 and 32. FTI, nice rising channel, breaks out of the base. I've been a rising channel for months now. We got a target. Right now, the target's at 21.5, 25. GCT, nice base breakout coil. But the coil is running up steadily. It's right near the multi-year high. Your next target's all the way up there in the 22 range. First, we're looking at 19. That could be a swing. Groupon, long downtrend broken. Coil developed after the breakout. Rising moving averages. Stair-stepping its way higher. Next target, 15.5, 16. We talked about Gush earlier. HAS, tech traded swing, popped, broke out. We put a swing on it, pulled back for a day and a half, real quietly. Boom, right back up again. 66 to 73 in the last few days, last week. Tells me we go higher, 77 target. HKIT, looked like it was going to get hammered back, but boy, it came back nicely on Friday. So we look for see if we can get this to 40.41 near term. First target would be 33. HLX, there's another rising channel. After a 5-wave move up and pull back, we have a 1-2. This is wave 3. Wave 3 may extend all the way into the mid-teens. HRTG, Heritage Insurance, beautiful rising channel. I'll take this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th wave that could get up in 8.5, 9 zone. My DYA, love this look. It's a tech traded swing. Broke out, flagged. From that flag at 24.5, it's gone to 30, 36. Top of the channel is 38, but in mid channel 35 may be a target. IMBT, one of my top picks for the year, I believe, and this stock has run from the breakout, flag, and explosive move, and flag again to a stair-step move up with a flag, flag, flag. Each time we're coming out of that flag, next target 27. INOD had a tough last week when one of the insiders sold, but it did make a new high before backing off. Keep an eye on this one, at support. Intel, well, a stock that we gave you a swing on, I believe it was either here or there, but it came, yeah, it was here. Then it came down in 3 waves and rallied back, consolidated. Now, a triple top there is 37. You get through that, 41 and 45 are targets. IONQ. Excuse me, IONQ, it's a beautiful stair-step move higher. Recent flag action bottomed their key prior high and lateral support in the trend line. It's moved up nicely. A retest for 20 and then 25, 27 might be in order. IoT broke out Friday, right back to the high, looking for 35 and 40. KALD, and beautiful rising channel now flagging. Once he gets through here, 13 and 14.5 are your targets. LI, one of our better swings when it broke out here, just went ballistic and went from 25 to 47, pulled back in a falling wedge, held to 50 and popped. If we can get it through here, it may be right back in the high 40s. LYTS popped, we put a swing on it, I believe, and then pulled back, but it's got a beautiful wedge for me. Very much like this pattern. Notice it's narrowing to the apex. It should have popped out and you get to a double top, you can go bonkers. I'm looking for 19 and 22.3. MDXG, excuse me. Breakaway gap, flag. After breaking out of a base, it ran up and flagged, it ran up and coiled. Looking for near 10 of this. Well, I'm highlighting some marijuana ETFs because of the way they look here. All this decline, taking MJ from the near 40 range down into the $3 range. Look at Thursday, Friday, and inside day Friday. Excuse me, Wednesday, Thursday, inside day Friday. I just like the way this looks. Keep your eye on this one. And now I'm targeting around 4 1/4 and 3/4. MNSO, another beauty that broke out at a breakaway move, wedge flag, pop, long coil, or consolidation breakout. Right now, this looks terrific. And the next target is near 30. MRAM, base, breakout, retest, pop, and now a nice wedge that tells me it goes to 11.5, 12, maybe 13. MSOS is the other ETF in the marijuana group. Look at that pop. 485 to 744 in just 3 sessions. So that's usually coming off a low. A move like that can trigger a long uptrend. So keep an eye on these two ETFs, MJ and MSOS. Neogen, V-bottom platform, breakout, long coil, pop, and run up in a rising flag by target 25. NARV, nice coil developing near the apex after a long 1, 2, 3, 4, I think a 5th wave, which could have a problem at 14.5, then can make it into the high teens. Nutanix, strong earnings on Friday exploded, jumped 11.8%. Mine was the largest I've seen on this since back in October of last year. Now I think we're headed for 40. And TRA, long base, broke out Thursday, Wednesday, stalled Thursday and broke out Friday. I'm now looking for an extension. 75 is my target. And VT, how about that chart? Long rising channel, top of the channel target now 62. OLMA, breaks out of a base, pops and retests, breaks out of flags, pops and retests. Looks like a rising channel may be underway. My target is 1450. ORIC, beautiful rising channel as well after the breakout there. Consolidate, and now it's wedging. Targeting 11 and 14. PCBX breaks out here, pulls back to retest there. Popped out again, a wedge, and then ran up and formed a coil for 4 months. This is on the verge of a breakout, I think, of 54. I would look for 60 and 68. PESI exploded in January, February, taking it from 3 1/4 to 12.5, quadrupling. It took some time to digest that. At this point, a pop and consolidation here could lead to higher levels. Keep an eye on PESI. It's highest level we've seen in this stock in 12, 13 years. POWL broke out. We put a swing on it, and now it's wedging. The wedge broke out, and it looks like if we can get through here, we're looking at 105.08 as a target. QTRX broke out of a base, wedged, ran up some more, and continues to press higher. Targets 30 and 36. Remedy Global, beautiful rising channel. Coiled, popped, wedged, and it continues to go. $30 target. RIG in the oil sector is flagging. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe. I think this is a 1, 2 of 5. And we're going to get a 3, 4, and 5 and get this one into the mid-teens. Rivian, one of our better swings this year. We caught it as it broke out of space and went vertical, eventually going from 16 and change to 28 and change. The falling wedge occurred, and now to snap back to resistance. If we can hold it and go through here, 26, 28, and 33 are targets. Riovant, one of my top picks of the year back in December when I was trading in the 6, 7 range, has doubled to over 12. Now flagging for the last month or two. Targets 13 and 15. Roku exploded, ran up and wedged. I need this to hold 75 and then take out 87. You get that, high 90s, and maybe even 112.15 could be targets. Rover breaks out of a base with a gap and flag or a wedge, and now it's running right back up to the highs. 8 and 9 are targets. Revolution Medicines, look at this long, beautiful base, and now it's popping. I would target 40 on the next move. Rhythm, RYTM, we Nice swing here. One of our better swings. Almost went vertical. And it took a year, I kid you not, to consolidate. Finally breaking out a month ago, consolidating, and now breaking out again. I'm looking for 34.5 as a target. Seadrill in the oil sector, this is breaking out to new all-time post-IPO highs. And now I'm looking for mid-50s or higher. SGMA, pop, falling wedge, breaks the declining top sign with a breakaway gap, lateral resistance as well. Breaks through secondary resistance and pulls back to test it. It keeps going. Next target, 8.5. SLNO, 1, 2, 3, 4, and coiling. Next target, 7.5 and 10. SMCI, well, this is one of the big monster moves of the year, but I want to show you where it's at. This breakdown gap, an inability to get back through it, calls for a move over 298.9 or 300 or whatever, right? 298.5, and then your target is going to be 370 and even 4.25. But be careful, because when you break down, even though the trend line isn't broken, if it breaks this pattern, it's over. Sapiens breaks out of a base, runs flags, pops flags again. My extension target is 33. TAL, the other educational stock, is from China. Not quite the same as EDU. Nevertheless, watching this carefully, you move over the double top, you get over 8, 10, 15. Targets 10 and 13. Thread up, which we put out as a swing back in here, slowly but steadily moves higher, although we did have a pretty ugly dip here in June. It took it all the way down to 193. It's got more than doubled to 4.25 now, but then the target at 5.5. Tilray, well, with marijuana is going to make a move, if that whole group's going to move, Tilray should be the leader. Now, look at this move. If they're coming through the declining tops line, a long one too. Don't forget, this stock was in the 50s in 21 and produced 300 back in 2018. So at this point, pop through and pull back on a falling wedge and break out again. I'd be looking to test 3 3/4, 4.5, and 5. TSAT broke out, we put a swing on it, and it popped and pulled back and extended. After both of my targets, it's got a 1, 2, 3, 4 now. If we get a fifth wave, high 20s, 30 might be a target. Tasha popped, wedge, and popped again. For some reason, I missed this one. I love the look of it. $5 target. ULBI broke out. It coiled. We put a swing on it. And then, it broke out there. We put a swing on it. And now it's coiled. But take a look at Friday's breakout. I'm looking for 11, 12 on this one. Upwork. Big pop out of a base. Falling wedge pop, and now a large coil. Target, 18.5. Vera broke out at the base. Beautiful coil developed, or flag. It broke out twice, 1, 2, 3 times, unable to follow through yet. I'm going to call this rising channel or ascending coil. Take a look at that. Target, 22. This oil and gas, another oil and gas junior that's really ripping. Take a look at this chart. Target, 32. 29.32 on this one. VRT, beautiful base, breakaway gap, sharp run up, extension gap, and now momentum galore. Let's just say 47.8 might be a target. VTEX, base, breakout, and a little falling wedge right there. Keep an eye on this one. The look is spectacular. Targets are 7 and 8.5. Weave Communications breaks out here, runs up sharply and pulls back. I still like the look of it. I don't want it under last week's low. Stop under 8.65 or so. My targets are 11, 13, and 15. XPEV, one of our successful electric vehicle, Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer, swing trade, broke out there and then just kept running. That's gone from 12 to 23 and pulled back. Now we're snapping back. Next week's low, important. My targets are 21.5 and 24. XPL Logistics, my favorite transportation trucking firm, period. 1, 2, 3, 4, and fifth wave's underway. I think we're going to see 90, 88, 90. And that's a look at all the longs. It's a few shorts I want you to entertain, but not necessarily now. Take a look at this list, and 14 out of 17 were up. That figures in a strong market. But AN, if this cracks this wedge and goes down, we're looking at 140 and 124. So be careful. It's now 160. It can get whacked if it breaks down. If you're short, you don't want to be long above 162.3. Careful. It's close. BMEA breaks down, forms a bear flag, breaks down, it snaps back and fails, and breaks down, forms another bear flag. Can't tell how far down it goes, but it wouldn't shock me to see this down around 12. Crocs breaks down, forms a bear flag, and this keeps going down. Finally bounces and forms a bear wedge. I don't know if this wedge is going to break down or out, but if it breaks down, and that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm looking for a move down at mid-80s. DXCM is a lousy looking chart. Breaks down, bear flags, breaks down, and it snaps back. There's some resistance up around 107.8. That's where I'd cover. But if it rolls over, 93.4. EL, terrible look to it. It's been in downtrend for a long time. If they're breaking down here and bear flagging, it broke down, had a large bear wedge. At one point in January, February, it got to a key long-term resistance level. Take a look, and failed. It's too late to short this, but if you're short, you can probably cover half your position and look for something around 128. HOLX, head and shoulder top, roll over it. This looks like a bear flag or bear wedge. I'll call it a wedge because it's slightly doing that. But I got a target of 69. INTA also breaks down, runs a bear flag. If it's in a downtrend now, your next target is 28. INTT, same, breaks the channel, runs a bear flag, rolls over, maybe forming another one right there. Let me draw your trend line for you. And you can see if it fails here, you might see 13. Las Vegas, head and shoulder type top, but it hasn't broken the neckline yet. Keep an eye on this one. If it does, 45.6 is your target zone. LW, after a beautiful long channel, breaks down in front of the bear flag. That's where I noted it. It dropped from 103 down to 93 and bounced up into what looks like another bear flag in wave 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth wave target, 88.90. OMC breaks a big top pattern, snaps back and fails right there, and comes down and forms a bear flag. Target 74, and a lot less if it breaks there. PI came down hard and bounced a large rising bear flag, and then dropped and formed a lateral bear flag or wedge, and it finally got creamed in the fifth wave. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No surprise it's bouncing here. I would avoid that at this point on the short side. Sage, same thing, and when the stock drops from 59 down to 17 that quickly, and then bounces, you probably want to move aside as well. SDGR, big drop. It's like a bear wedge forming right here. If you break that wedge to the downside, we could see 26. SYM, thinking of top forming, maybe. I wouldn't do anything with this one until we break 35. If that occurs, 23.4 is the target. Techno Glass, which is one of my favorites last year, broke down and it's snapping back. Keep an eye on it. If it fails in that zone, which I think it might, we could roll over to 28. And finally, TMDX, which is one of my favorites for a long time. Transmedics got slammed and has bounced back a little bit, but it's at resistance here. And if that's going to be a bear wedge or flag, your next target is 53. Folks, that's a exhaustive look at the longs, the shorts, the indices, the technicals. So play this back a few times and review it so you have an idea of what stocks you want to focus on, what the market looks like, what levels to be aware of. And this is HB signing off, wishing you a wonderful rest of your Labor Day weekend. Bye, everybody.